There we go, Ash.
Zane, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I am great. I am great.
Good, good, good. So, guys, like I was saying, we have Ash for our second episode. He's an agent that works on the west side of Toronto, so Mississauga, Peel region, Halton region. And him and his team work with both residential buyers as well as investor clients. So I kind of wanted to bring him on because we do have a lot of people relocating from the city, moving either east or west. So either east to me or west to Ash. So this is the most appropriate conversation we can have.
That sounds great.
So Ash, why don't we get started? From my understanding, you have a pretty good team going on, right? On the
Yeah, we
west
do.
side?
We do. So we're a team of 7 of us.
Mhm.
Okay, and we've got 5 agents on the team, and then we've got 2 admins. So, the admins are focusing on the social media and all the paperwork and that kind of stuff. And then we have the 5 agents who are, on the listing side and on the buying side as well. And, talking a little bit about our team, we do not only residential, but we focus a lot on the investment side as well. Okay, we do a lot of investing.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
And where are you finding that a lot of investor clients are moving to in the West End?
Yeah, so most of our investors, they prefer to invest in lower price points. So they're focusing on Hamilton, for example. That's one of the highest return cities, right? Like in the top 3 cities,
Right.
you've got Ottawa and Hamilton and Waterloo. So there's a lot of investors going out into the Hamiltons of the world.
Nice, nice. So are you
Yeah.
finding that a lot of the investors are from Toronto?
Yes, they are. So a lot of the investors live in Toronto. We've got some investors in Mississauga. We even have investors out in your neck of the woods in Ajax and Pickering
Yeah.
who, if they're not buying in
Right.
Durham, they're coming out west this way. Right?
Right.
So yes.
I feel like
That's the-
we're in that situation too, because back a couple of years ago, we were super, super affordable. And a lot of investors
Yes.
were coming from the city and coming out this way. If you want to call it gentrification, you can call it that. But Toronto became too expensive for investors or contractors.
Right.
So they came out this way. And Pickering, Ajax, Whitby, and Oshawa have just picked up in prices. So for the most part, they're going the other way now.
Well, I think investors are still heading out east as well, right? Like Oshawa and stuff like that. There's still a lot of stuff to be acquired there with the 407 and the train lines going. There's a lot of opportunity. It's really expensive in the core of Toronto. And so as you go east or west or maybe north, there's opportunities for an investor on the investor side. So that's one type of investor, if you want to say. But if you're looking at another investor who's interested in the condo market, for example, they're more centric to downtown Toronto and some of the bigger cities. We see all types of investors, and it honestly depends on what their goals are, how much time they want to invest in managing and stuff like that, and what type of tenant they want as well. So if they want a AAA tenant, hassle-free, they're not too worried about the return, then we focus maybe on the inside of Toronto because you're going to see decent appreciation, but you may not get the cash flow that you want. So those people would go sort of into that Toronto pocket. And then others want more cash flow. So cash flow is defined as after all your expenses are paid, how much are you putting in your pocket? So if you want that, you got to go to the lower price point. So you got to head east or west or north, really. And like you said, look back 10, 15, 20 years ago. I grew up in Mississauga, but it was a farm 20 years ago, right? Even Durham region, it was like farms. So as people come into Canada, they need places to live, and you got to push. So that's kind of
Yeah, we're in a very similar boat, especially on the residential side. Just families buying properties. Toronto is becoming very unaffordable for most families, for the average Joe. So they're going, we can go to Oshawa and go train into the city in 50 minutes. Or we can go to Mississauga and get in around the same time, right? And the further you go, the more bang you get for your buck.
Right. And, with prices being really expensive, Scarborough, Toronto,
Mhm.
sometimes from affordability, I heard the line, drive until you can buy somewhere, right? Because it's
Mhm.
so expensive inside the core of Toronto. So,
Yep.
from an investing standpoint, that is one of the things that we do. But nevertheless, people do live in your neck of the
Mhm.
woods. They're not necessarily investors. It's a nice place to live as well, right? And from what I understand, the market out in the East is very similar to what's going on here. Like we're seeing things start to pick up. Like all of a sudden,
Right.
today is what, May 14th. 3 weeks
Mhm.
ago, it was dead. It was asleep, and all of a sudden now, in Peel region and Halton and even into Hamilton, we're starting to see multiple offers. We're seeing activity. Things are picking
Mhm.
up, right? So this is a good sign. This is a
Right.
good sign, I think. But yeah, and I
Right.
also read somewhere today. Today is 60 days that we've been in quarantine. If you're
Whoa.
social isolation, yeah, 60 days. Today's
Right.
March. Today's May 14th. So March 14th,
Mhm.
they closed down the city or the world.
Yeah. And they closed down the cities, and we're essential, so we had to keep going. People, we're in situations
This is,
where people need a house, they need a roof to live under, right? So
yeah,
I don't know too much about the West End, but for us, when COVID kind of got announced and social isolation became the new norm, that first week and a half, we actually had, I think, 180 firm sales that week. And it was a
yeah,
lot of people going, I don't know what's going to happen. So I need to buy something ASAP because if I don't, I might become homeless. And then after
yeah,
that week or two, people kind of started going, you know what? Uh, thank God real estate's still essential. Now we can kind of calmly look at properties and obviously virtually look
right.
at them.
Property. So how we saw it was January, February until March 15th. You know, things
Mhm.
were going through the roof. I mean, we were going to see double-digit creation. Like it was just an insane market, and we were seeing multiple offer after multiple offer with prices kind of climbing through the roof. And then, like you said, the first 2 weeks after March 14th, it was sort of the people who still had to act. They had sold their house, let's call it March 10th, and they still hadn't bought a house. So they needed to get that home, right? Or they were
Mhm.
going to be homeless. But then I guess when April rolled around, with the isolation and a lot of people not putting their house on the market and all of that uncertainty out there, we saw, and this is the greater Toronto area, we saw a 70% drop in activity, and rightfully so, because we
Mhm.
were all home. And you're right, we kept, the people as an essential worker, some people still had to move for jobs or divorce or whatever it might be, or they were going to an old
Right.
age home. They had to move, so we've started to sell,
Yeah.
started to move things.
Right.
But now
And
it's opening back up, like with the city opening up and stuff like that.
mhm.
People are back out, and seems like things are gonna take off again. I don't know. But as of right now, I'll give you an example. As a like today, right as we speak, I have a client making an offer on a property in Hamilton.
Mhm.
Okay? And this house came on the market yesterday. Yesterday, like we're
Okay.
talking 24 hours. There were
Mhm.
15 showings booked. Okay, and we only got a 15-minute slot. Like I've never seen a 15-minute slot because they had to accommodate
Okay.
all of the showings so they don't overlap. And as of now, the offer time is at 9
Mhm.
p.m. There's 2 offers registered, right? So, and that's one of the things. Then I listed another property, $950,000. Okay, this is also going back to Tuesday. We have multiple offers,
Mhm.
right? I can't tell you the price, but it's pretty good. We listed another one in Mississauga early last week. 2 3 days, it sold at a pretty decent price. So things are moving, right? Things are moving. There's a lot of buyers, even though transactions are down. If you look at any of the news channels, I mean,
Mhm.
they said prices stayed flat, which is true. But there
Right.
still is less supply than the demand of buyers. Even though the activity has come down, there's still higher demand. That's what we're seeing anyway,
Right.
right? And I'm sure it's the same out there as well.
And I'm glad you brought that up. So our first quarter of 2020 was basically a continuation of fourth quarter of 2019. We just kept rolling. Usually in our
Yes.
market, November, December, January are fairly slow. February, things start to pick up, and March is really when the market starts to get going. But this year, January, February, March, we were rocking and rolling. And March was literally
Yes.
January, February, March.
Yes.
And it was looking like it was going to be an insane year with just the demand. So
yes, absolutely.
when COVID came along, like you said, activity dropped, but the buyers were still there. The buyers who needed to buy or the sellers who needed to sell are still transacting.
Yes.
It's just a matter of the casuals.
Yes.
They're the ones that are out of the market.
If you had the choice of not doing anything, I guess they went on hold, right? And
Exactly.
That's kind of what happened, I think.
And they went on hold because of the uncertainty. For the most part, they're going, you know what, maybe if we stay on hold, and they're reading all these Bloomberg articles and CTV and whatnot who are going 70% drop in sales. So people are assuming that's a 70% drop in price.
In house prices. And you know what? That's what like the media publicizes. They don't even say 70% drop in sales. They say 70% drop in housing. Like that's
Right.
the headline. Houses drop 70%. Well, drop. I mean, what really dropped was the transactions, right? And that's the amount of activity. Yeah, everybody stayed home uncertain times. That's what happens. But prices still plateaued if we look at the number. So,
we had a 60, I think in the GTA, I believe it was around 66% drop in new listings.
64.
So it's
64%.
It's right there. That doesn't affect demand.
Number.
Like that doesn't affect price because demand's not changing.
This is correct. So, instead of having 100 transactions, we had like 30, but still demand was always higher than supply, and thus prices stayed the same. And now what we're seeing is as more buyers are coming into the market, and they're, what I'm hearing just in my little circles is, they're sick of waiting, putting their life on hold. That's number one. And number two is, as we start to open up stuff, people are getting out there and they want to get their home and move forward. Plus, interest rates are crazy low, right? So that's another driver, I guess, if you want to say. And all this, I don't want to be a damper of the good news. That's the one side of the equation. But I do believe there's another side of the equation, and that's an unknown. What's going to happen, right? Like, people are talking about a second wave and this and that. Who knows? But I do believe this is the new norm. You analyze the numbers however you want to look at it. Today in our team meeting, that's what we did. There's been 5,000 deaths across Canada, and Canada has a population of 40 million people. So on a percentage basis, it's like 0.0007 or 1 or something, something minute, right? And even out of those 5,000 deaths, a good majority were in the homes or the old age homes. Now, I'm not downplaying deaths. That's not what I'm trying to say. But from a percentage standpoint, it's a pretty small percentage. So as they open up the city, we'll see what comes together, and it all depends on consumer confidence at the end of the day, and that's will drive the market.
Yeah, Canada's in a position where we can't afford to let housing drop drastically. From my understanding, it's 14 or 15% of the GDP. And the reason that the reason that I feel like they lowered the qualifying rate from 5.29 to 5.19 is that makes a big difference. And that little bit can keep the market going. And with interest rates, like my parents, when they bought their house back in 2014, they got a rate of 2.29 for a 5-year fix. And they refinanced and they got the same rate in 2020.
2020, yeah.
Right? So that's crazy.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Yeah. And where from my point of view, what I'm thinking is going to happen is that uh, a way that was explained to me was that imagine you're going down the 401, right?
Hmm.
The 401, let's say it's 5 lanes. And because of construction up ahead, let's say it goes down to 4, 3, 2, and now you're on a single lane.
Right.
Now, that single lane is COVID, right? Everyone's kind of bumper to bumper trying to see what's going on. But
Yes.
once that construction opens up, what do we all do? We gun for it because we have places to go. So those 4 lanes open up, and that's what I think is going to happen to our market. We're going to have an abundance of activity, and it's going to be
Yes.
a layover of people who were supposed to buy in March and April who
Yes.
didn't, and
Yes.
now they're going to buy on the second wave of spring.
And you said March and April. I think that was going back to January and December. There was no inventory going back
Possibly.
way out there, right? So all of those people are carrying forward, and you're right. I think that's what we're going to see down the road. We're seeing it now.
Mhm.
I'm seeing it now
And
today. It's the start.
Yeah, we're definitely week by week, we're seeing more and more activity, and
Absolutely.
those people that are looking to buy, who are looking at the statistics and not the hoopla that we see on TV,
Hmm.
they're seeing that, you know what, transactions are still happening, nothing's on a halt. There's some really
Yes.
good opportunities out there,
Agreed.
and if you're looking to purchase a property, now may be the time.
If you're looking for a deal, now is the time, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
If you're not necessarily looking for a deal, well, then you wait for the media to release the numbers,
Hmm.
which will be say June 10th or so. But by that time, the market's reacted, right? So a lot of people are
Right.
staying on the sidelines, and they're saying, "I'm waiting for better deals," if that's what they're waiting for. I don't know. But I think in general we're on the uptick,
Yeah.
provided there's no second wave and everything blows up.
Right. And I think even if we do have a second wave, we're going to be better prepared. That's for sure.
Yes.
A lot of us agents are already doing those virtual showings, right? Virtual open houses, all that stuff, and that may become the new norm. But if
Might be.
another
Yeah.
if another wave of COVID does happen, we know how to be active and proactive, and we also know how to still serve our clients.
Yes.
Because, like you said as well, people still need to move.
People still need to move. They're still gonna get jobs in different places, and they're gonna upsize or
Mhm.
downsize or want a house with a pool or have a baby and want a bigger house. That's just a part of life, and it's gonna happen.
Mhm.
And whether you like it or not, the government is letting in more immigrants into Canada, and they need a place to live, right? So
Mhm.
people got to move.
Yeah.
So
I read a stat, I think it was last year. There are 10,000 new families that move into the GTA, and they're predominantly looking for a property in Toronto. But because of unaffordability or not enough vacancy, they get pushed out. So they get pushed out to either the west to you or to the east to us.
yeah,
And that's a big reason for vacancy rates as low as they are, as well as the demand for prices.
yeah,
So as long as the interest rates stay low and
yes,
immigration still happens, we're probably going to be in the same situation.
yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. And to that stat, I think I know the stat you're referring to. The amount of immigrants that are let into Canada annually
Mm-hmm.
is not 10,000. It's a couple of 100,000, and
Gotcha.
a good chunk of that demographic comes to the GTA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, or they go out west. Right.
Right.
So so it's in the hundreds of thousands, and they need a place to live. So
Right.
maybe the number you're talking about is 10,000 coming to the core, probably.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure
Uh,
that's what it is.
yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
From like your neck of the woods all the way to my neck of the woods, all the way to Barrie,
Mm-hmm.
you've got a couple of hundreds of thousands
Right.
of people moving here. So that's a
Mm-hmm.
big number of people per year.
Yeah.
They're coming here because Canada is safe politically, the climate is great, life is great, free healthcare,
Mm-hmm. And they're coming to the GTA predominantly because they have family
jobs and jobs
and jobs. Yeah.
and jobs. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what we're seeing.
Right. How are the vacancy rates looking like on the West End? Are you guys
Yeah,
having a
so
lot of?
th- things are flying. Things are flying, Zing, like
Yeah.
1%, 2% maximum. But
Mhm.
things are getting rented very quickly. So when it comes to
Yeah.
the renting side, that's
Mhm.
one of the things we're looking at, right? So a lot of people are unemployed now, perhaps, right? So when we're
Mhm.
consulting some of our clients who are, you got the tenants asking for what's out there now. Rent is due. We can't afford to make the payment, right? So,
Mhm.
so what we're telling them is, go back to the tenants, ask them if they've got the CERB, the $2,000 a month. Have they got any other monies coming in, and work something out? Don't
Mhm.
be a crappy landlord.
Right.
There's turbulence in the economy. Work something out. Landlords are not required by law to waive a rental payment. That's not what it is. But they are allowed, or
Mhm.
it's okay to work out a deferral plan, similar to what the banks might
Mhm.
do. Right? So let's
Right.
say your rent is 2,000, but all you have is $1,000. This is a hypothetical number. So let's work out a payment plan for the other $1,000, where you're paying $200 a month till you get caught up, perhaps. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So
We're having to
that's
we're having the same thing on our end. Uh, it's hard to find a good pool of tenants, first of all. So a lot of the landlords are looking for AAA, and you're pretty much getting them. Now, for the landlords that already had properties rented, and they're now in a situation where one of the tenants has been laid off, what
yeah,
they're doing is fairly similar. You know what? How much can you afford right now? We're not going to kick you out because if we do, it's going to be vacant for another month or two. So
yeah,
let's figure something out. Let's work together, right? So if you have $1,000, let's do 500 right now or $1,000 right now. Once your CERB comes in or whatever,
yeah,
right? So they're pretty flexible.
yes. So that's kind of what we're encouraging our landlords as well, right?
Mhm. Yeah. What's the average rental price in your area?
Yeah, you're looking at about $2,400 for a condo.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like it's like we had a townhouse we put up for lease a week or two ago. Again,
Mhm.
1 week it was rented out.
Yeah.
Um, we had, I think, four-ish applicants. They were all pretty good. Now
Mhm.
my landlords, they're extra picky, and they wanted like four A's, if you want to say, as opposed to the
Right.
triple A. So out of the four applications, three were triple A, and
Mhm.
if I remember correctly, but they
Yeah.
went with somebody who offered them. It was a better.
Gotcha.
And
Gotcha.
then I had another landlord who I know about in Markham. He
Mhm.
he rented it out himself, and he got the whole year up front in rent. The whole year.
Whoa.
Now this is a student from I forget the country. Student coming in. It's in Markham is the condo,
Mhm.
and he got rent was, I think, 2,200 maybe for the rent.
Mhm.
The whole thing up front, 1 year up front. So that's like
Yeah.
$25,000,
A
right?
lot of money.
No, it's more than that. It's
Yeah.
almost 30,000, right? So
Yeah.
you got it all up front.
Mhm.
So I was like, take that money and go put it in the stock market. So
Yeah, we do a lot of rentals on our end. So for a bunch of our clients we dealt with a client who came from overseas, and it was a similar situation because him and his wife were both very well. They had very good careers back
mhm,
home. So when they came here, now it's kind of like they're on standstill because they can't go to work, right?
mhm,
And the wife can't apply for new jobs. So what the
right,
landlord ended up doing was, you know what? Uh, they actually talked to their references back home, which is mind-boggling,
yeah,
right? But they went, you know what? You're super qualified. Let's
yeah,
talk to your references back home, right? Let's talk to your old employer.
right,
Checked out. We ended up giving a couple of months advance, but what they did
okay,
was the couple of months advance that they gave, that just went against the first couple of months. So
yes,
it gives them breathing space.
gives them breathing free. And that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
We're living in an abnormal time. We have to get creative with everything. think.
Mm-hmm.
You can't follow what you used to follow 3 months ago. You've got to
No.
be willing to be flexible and be creative, right? So
Right.
that's kind of what it is. I mean, that goes for everything. I mean, even with showings and stuff, anytime I'm going into a client's house, you've got agents coming behind and desanitizing, or, as a buyer coming in, we're trying to respect the home, not touch anything. That's the rule when we go with buyers. You don't touch anything, not the lights, just the front door. That's it, because you need
Right.
to open the door and the lockbox. And one of the things that we do is we have the Lysol thing, and I'll
Perfect.
sanitize it before I get in. That's how I'll open the door, and that's it. And then we just go in, look at the house, and just leave exactly the way we did. So you're respecting the other people on the other side, and they're trusting you to do the same, right? So
Right.
that's what we do on the buying side. And then you're wearing gloves and all that.
Yeah. And we're doing the same thing on our side as well. A lot of buyers they're okay with that because they
Yes.
understand the situation. What we're telling our buyers is, you know what? Imagine if you were in the seller's shoes. You don't want to be touching their things, and you
Yes.
wouldn't want your own things touched, right? So let's be super cautious when we go in. But what we're doing on our end, we're kind of doing a 6 or 7 point rule, whichever one you want to call it. But we look at the pictures online on the MLS. Then we take a look at the virtual tour, the real tour if they have one attached. Then we take a look at the street view, right from the front. Do you like the neighborhood?
Yeah.
Then an overview to see if you like the lot. Because you want to make sure that all these things check the boxes, because you don't want to go in and go, you know what, I don't like the backyard because the backyard's too big, right? You want to go in for the final decision, like, okay, everything checks out. It's what I saw.
Yes.
Right? So we're narrowing down 10 properties to, let's say, 3.
Yeah.
Right? And by the end of the day, we're going, okay, now we have a decision ready.
Yeah. The problem that I'm seeing is there aren't 10 properties because they're selling before we can do that. Right? So we're down to be, anyways. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
we're down to 5.
You're only seeing a handful.
Only seeing a handful.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. So hopefully there's more inventory, more people put their houses up for sale, and I think as numbers start coming out, you'll start to see more inventory, and things will get back to normal. That's what I believe anyway.
I agree. We're on the same boat on this side as well.
Yeah.
What does your high end market look like?
So luxury or high end?
Let's go on. What can you get for $1 million, or like what you guys define as luxury?
Yeah. $1 million will get you a 2,000 square foot home, double car garage.
Okay.
Is kind of what it looks like. So if you're in Burlington, Mississauga, that's kind of what you'll get for $1 million. In Oakville for $1 million, there are townhouses for $1 million. But it's a little bit more expensive than Burlington and Mississauga, right?
Yeah.
But it's a decent house, like 2,000 square feet. You're
right.
Like the average price in Oakville is 1.4 right now.
Okay.
And luxury in Oakville starts at about 3 million. Starts at 3 million, and if you go to Southeast Oakville, it's 4 million and up. Right. So those are kind of the numbers on luxury, and
Right. For us, Pickering has kind of morphed with Scarborough. You don't really know the difference anymore. It's just because we're getting a lot of people moving east, right? So people are just moving their wealth over. So Pickering's kind of becoming like a Scarborough where prices are getting up there. You're seeing those, those very modern homes, the new chic look. Yeah. They're selling for about $2.5–3 million in Pickering.
Wow.
Right? So that's not cheap.
That's not cheap at all.
Right, and the further east you move, so obviously Ajax, Whitby, Oshawa, by the time you get to Oshawa, you're looking at about 3,000 plus square feet, a newer build. So not a huge lot, but you're in a brand new, maybe a tribute home, something along those lines.
Okay,
right? they're not custom homes.
Yeah.
Custom homes, you're looking at over $1 million, probably close to $1.5 million. But their money stretches, especially when you come from the city and you come out this way.
Yeah.
We had a client move. They had a condo in the city, a 1+1, and they sold that and they moved out to Whitby. They bought a townhome for I think it was a little bit less than what they sold their condo for. Right, and it's 1,700 square feet, brand new.
Right.
So it just becomes a choice of lifestyle versus location for a lot of folks.
And that's the same thing we see in Mississauga. You get couples who might be just getting pregnant or whatever. They are selling their condo in Mississauga for $550, $600, and they're lateraling into Hamilton.
Right.
And they're getting a detached bungalow on a 40-foot lot, right, for the same price.
Wow.
Right. So, I mean, you need more space. That's what we see from people going west, and it's the same thing they're doing over there.
How's the drive from Mississauga to Hamilton?
20 to 30 minutes.
No, that's nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah. For suburbs, 20 minutes is like going to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
Yeah.
Not bad at all.
Yeah. Where are you guys expecting the market to go in the next couple of months, both on the investment side and the more personal home side as well?
Residential. Yeah. So the way I see it now, and I think it's a week by week assessment, the way things are going, it's going to continue to go up, right? As we get into spring and warmer weather, usually drives that. It's still cold. So next week, the week after, I could see more inventory hitting the market and the buyers coming in. So I have a strong feeling in the next 30 to 60 days, we'll see a lot more activity. And I definitely think we'll see a lot more. We're seeing it now. Like my phone doesn't stop ringing.
Right.
All of a sudden, right? So, and 30 days ago, I was just playing with my kids, and now it's like I have to be here, I have to be there, kind of.
Exactly. We're on the same side. We're on the same boat as well. We're continuously seeing activity. So,
yes,
in the next 30 days, I'm assuming we're going to be back to normal activity-wise. In March, we did. On the early part of March, so end of February, March, we did about 1,200 transactions. And in the first part of April, or like the April chunk, we did a little over 500. So sales have dropped drastically, like over 50%, but now things are starting to pick up. So anything in the starter market, so for the starter market for us is like under 6.
Yes.
So high 4s to high 5s, that range.
Yeah.
Things are selling in a couple of days.
Couple days, right?
Yeah. Like for some of our clients, there was a property that came on the market Monday, and it was sold. It had 2 offers Tuesday at 1:00. And they were priced for bidding. They were priced at market value, but
at market value,
right?
And are you seeing multiple offers? Are you seeing things going above asking? Are you seeing things going infirm? Like, is that what you're seeing?
Now we're starting to see multiple offers get back into place where we're seeing maybe 2, sometimes 3.
Yes.
But in that last month and a half, so the last 60 days with COVID, we were seeing properties sell with conditions. So conditional on finance. Whereas we weren't seeing that in January, February. Things were selling firm and with multiple offers. Yeah.
That first property I spoke to you about, it sold conditional on viewing the property. They hadn't even seen the property.
Yeah.
so they and it was a COVID clause. And they drove the lot, they liked it. And this was a starter home, 600 and change, I think. They bought it conditional on going to see it tomorrow if they won the offer. So,
right.
No?
And I don't see any problem with that. That's totally fine with me, right? Like, I don't expect you to buy a property sight unseen if you aren't comfortable, especially on that first-time buyer price range. Those first-time buyers, aren't emotionally ready to invest that much money on a property they can't walk into. So
agree.
that's what we advise for our buyers as well. You know what? Don't worry, we'll put in the COVID clause that we'll see it before we firm up. So both the sellers know that we're serious, and you guys know as well that, hey, we got the property. All we have to do is just take a look at it. And if there's something that you guys don't like, don't worry, it's not the end of the world. We'll figure something out, or you guys can retract your offer. But it's just giving people that opportunity and that option.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing similar things with renting as well. So when we put up a house for lease downtown Toronto, so the tenant doesn't want people to come in. So that's a bit of an obstacle we're running into, because the tenant is not the seller, right? The seller must sell or wants to sell. The tenant is like, hold on, I don't really want to do this. So it gets tough, because you have to be respectful to the tenant who doesn't want random folks in their house. So that's where we get into the whole virtual situation challenges.
Are you finding that tenants are willing to do like a FaceTime video or a Zoom video with their phone, just switch it and walk around so the new prospective tenant or buyer can see? Like, are they cooperating on your end?
Yes. Okay. This tenant is. The other one we leased last week or whatever, it was an older lady, so the technology wasn't possible. So we had to wait for her to leave, and then clean the house and did all of that, and then had people go.
Right.
So I think you gotta vary depending on the situation.
Right. And it's a good thing that everyone's being flexible and understanding.
That's the main thing. Landlords understand that tenants have reservations. Tenants should understand that, landlords need to get the place rented also. So let's work out a compromise. If you're not comfortable with people coming into your home, let's try to figure out a secondary way. Right.
Where do you find that people often move from? I know you mentioned Toronto and Durham for investors, but just on the residential side.
So, what we see is people from Mississauga would like to get into the Oakville, for example. And if people are looking to stretch their dollar, they'll sell in Oakville and possibly move to Burlington. Okay. Right? So it's kind of like Burlington, Oakville, people will jump back and forth. But,
are you finding people moving from Kitchener-Waterloo east towards you guys? Or from London coming back?
Not really. Like that's not a big or I haven't seen it anyway. And again, to do that, you're doubling your price point, right? So from a cost standpoint, that gets a bit tricky, but I see people going from here to Kitchener. I had a client sell in Brampton this a couple of years ago, and they sold for like $1 million and bought a house double the size, backing onto a ravine for like 600. Right? Like, so it was like triple the property if you wanted to say, because he just had a cutter home. I don't remember the price. Maybe it was 700 or so, and he bought cheaper at 600, and he got much more. Yeah. So, I see people going out as opposed to coming in.
We're having the same situation. So you either move east, you don't really come back into Durham. You're either moving out of it towards Northumberland or Peterborough or the Kawarthas, or you just take a drastic change and go to Hamilton and that side, Hamilton or west. Right. So I had an older couple, not a couple years ago, late last year, that they sold their multi-million-dollar home and they bought a property in London. And literally, it cost them, I think, $600,000, and it was a beautiful home. And they were looking to downsize, and they were going, you know what, in Durham, we can't really get anything that we want for $600,000. It's going to be very cookie cutter. So they had nothing tying them down, and they just turned ship and went west.
Yeah. You're right. That's a reasonable observation. It's difficult to come back into the city, especially when you're going to be paying a lot more.
Hmm.
And I think that's what it is.
Yeah, it depends on the circumstances. That's all it really
Absolutely.
is. If they're just moving to get more for their dollar, they're not coming back. They're moving out. Yeah,
Family or job or something like that, right?
exactly. Are you guys having a lot of developments, new developments coming out your way?
Yeah. So in Oakville, for example, north of Dundas, they
Okay.
put in a new hospital 3 years ago.
Hmm.
Ever since then, they've expanded Dundas, and there's a whole lot of homes going up there. So that's a lot of expansion we're seeing in Oakville. And in Hamilton, you've got, from an investor standpoint, a lot of people moving there and population is growing, but there aren't any new developments coming in from a housing standpoint. You got people
Okay.
wanting to go there, but less happening,
Right.
right?
And that affects price, long
That
term
affects
and
price.
short term.
Supply and demand, right? It's supply is
Exactly.
that's all there is, and then these
Hmm.
people are selling in Mississauga and coming. They need to buy. So the
Right.
Hamiltons people are moving out of there and they're going into Brantford and Grimsby and
Hmm.
St. Catharines or whatever. It's,
Right. They're just going where money takes them further. That's all
yeah.
it really is.
Yes.
Um, for us, we've had a really good couple of years for development. 2016, 17, 18, 19, during that whole boom, we had new
Yeah.
homes coming up left, right, and center. So I moved
Yes.
to Oshawa probably 7 years ago now. And when we moved
Okay.
here, there was still farmland. Like we live on the border of Oshawa and Curtis.
Okay.
So there was a lot of available land, and now it's all brand new homes. And Oshawa actually just broke a record in April during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
They passed 181 unit condo building.
Wow.
So that's going to be coming up the next 2 or 3 years, I believe. So that's a good sign. And we have a bunch of other developments coming out. There's one down the street from me, and they're all 100 homes or more. So probably within a 10-kilometer radius from where I am, we're looking at about another
Yes.
400 or 500 new homes in the next 2 to 3
Coming.
years.
And what about the 407 and the GO train? Does it come up that way? What's the story with
Yeah,
that?
so right now we have the GO train until Oshawa. So it goes from
Okay.
Oshawa into Toronto, right? And then you have the feeder cities, so Peterborough, places in the Kawarthas, Curtis, Bowmanville, Newcastle. They all have buses, GO buses coming into the Oshawa terminal. But what they've approved is that the GO train will be extended into Bowmanville.
I see. Okay.
So they created a whole new development in Bowmanville a couple of years ago, anticipating the expansion,
The GO train. Yeah. Yeah.
right? So people already moved into this development, and now they're just waiting for the GO train to kind of get in. And with the 407, I mean, 20 minutes into Toronto from Oshawa, just nothing, right? So the way that things are going, the GO train keeps extending further east, and the
Right.
407 keeps extending as well. It's just a good sign for Durham. And
How far does the 407 go right now?
pardon?
The 407, how far does it go
Right
east?
now, I believe it's to Oshawa.
Oh, it does go to Oshawa.
I think it's to Oshawa right now. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah. And it's honestly so convenient. And they're building a new casino strip, so something like the Las Vegas Strip with a bunch of casinos and a hotel resort kind of thing in Pickering. So
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah, so that's going to be bringing in $1.5 billion of GDP into the country, and it's going to be 10,000 new jobs. So we're going to see a second wave of boom, most likely.
That's great. Where is that happening?
Pickering. So off
In
of
Pickering.
Church and Brock.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Wow.
that's going to be very good for Pickering.
And when is that scheduled for?
No, I think it was originally anticipated for 2021, but because of everything that's going on, I'm thinking it's going to be like 2023 before we see anything legitimately open up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they're talking about an airport coming as well into Pickering. I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Okay. Okay.
But if that does happen, it's going to be very good as well because it works with the casino resort.
Right.
Yeah.
Very,
Yeah.
very cool.
All right, Ash. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Thank you
Yeah.
for having me.
No worries. No worries. It was a really good time chatting with you. So, if people do want to reach you,
Yes.
I'm assuming what we'll do is we'll put down your website, right, and your
Okay.
team's
Yeah.
phone number, all that stuff.
Sure.
So if they are
Yes.
looking to relocate out west, they can contact you guys directly.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Yeah. That's awesome.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much, Ash. All
Thank
right.
you, Zane. Have a good
Take care,
one.
guys. Bye.
Bye.